Coming to you live from Denver, Colorado, the Mile High City. You're in the sports wagering zone. No matter what time zone you happen to be in, right now, you're in the sports wagering zone. Welcome to the show. I'm Chris Pardo. We're here every day, 1 o'clock, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, Saturdays and Sundays, 9 a.m., 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Mountain Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Saturdays and Sundays. We're coming to you live on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network. We're also podcasting. We're podcasting on most of your major podcast platforms, such as Apple, Spotify, Amazon. Yes, we're everywhere. You can find us very, very easily. So thank you very much for listening. Not much going on in football today. NFL's kind of quiet. No college football today, so we're going to be turning our attention to Major League Baseball. It's the last week of the season, and we're going to take a look at three teams and get a close-up and personal look at them, give you an idea as to which direction the Lions are going, where the money is going, and of course, where the pros are going as well. But there is something about the NFL, and that is the power rankings came out today. So we're going to go over those because they have really changed. This was one of those upset weekends that not only upset many bettors and gamblers, but also it upset a lot of other people as well, in addition to upsetting the rankings. They have really changed, and we'll go into those as well. But of course, this is the final week of the baseball season, so we're definitely going to be taking a look at three games on tap. We have a game of Cubs against the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Milwaukee Brewers and the St. Louis Cardinals, the Tampa Rays, and the Houston Astros. Those are the games we're going to take a close look at, let you know what's going on with that. But yesterday in baseball, the favorites went 4-1. And it was a very light schedule yesterday. The only upset was by the Nationals, a plus 147 against our Denver Rockies here. The favorites lead at 59.5% on the season. You got less than a week to go in the season, and you're still at almost 60% as far as a percentage is so far. You had overs went 4-1 yesterday, and the unders still have a slim lead, but it's only at 50.3%. To kind of give you an idea what's happening there. Meanwhile, the NFL yesterday, Dallas Cowboys routed the Eagles 41-21 at Monday Night Football. That wraps up week number 3. This Thursday we'll be going into week number 4. The Cowboys also covered as 3.5-point home favorites. The game went over the betting total of 51.5 as well. Meanwhile, the favorites went 9-6 straight up for the week, with the Bucs and the Rams game being a pick'em. And that pick'em number comes, of course, out of Vegas. If you betting in California or in Florida or someplace else, you may have gotten a slightly different line, maybe a half-point difference somewhere. But as far as Vegas was concerned, it closed as a pick'em, so that's the way it's covered. The Dogs led 8-7 against the spread. The home and road teams split 8-8 straight up, and 8-8 against the spread as well. The unders went 11-5. So the favorites, they lead 26-21 straight up so far this season as is going along, with the one pick'em, of course, we always talked about. But the Dogs lead 29-18 against the spread, which is almost 62%, keeping in mind that 52.3 is your break-even point. Road teams lead 24-23 straight up. Of course, you did have one neutral site game. That was the Packers and the Saints all the way back in week 1. And of course, that was played in Jacksonville, Florida. The unders lead at 58.3%, although primetime overs only in primetime. Primetime games are the Sunday night game, Monday and Thursday. Those overs are 8-1. So there you go. Daytime unders are at almost 70%. So that's the story there. So that's about it for the NFL. Like I said, we're going to be talking primarily baseball, but of course, we do have the new power rankings that came out today. So we'll be going into those as well. Some very interesting changes occurred this past Sunday. So, as usual, we take 3 breaks of the show. If you've listened to the show before, you know that's what we do. Each one is of 1 minute duration. So if that's the case, then of course we will take that 1 minute break. And when we do come back, we'll look at those 3 games we talked about. Major League Baseball, last week of the season, playoffs beginning soon. We'll be paying more attention to it as well. So let's take that break and we'll be back in 60 seconds. And here we go again. Welcome back. You're in the sports wagering zone. I'm Chris Pardo, coming to you live from the Mile High City right here in Denver, Colorado. And of course, today we're going to be talking baseball. It's the final week of the season. The playoff races are really starting to heat up with that 1 week left. And of course, what we're going to do now is take a look and see 3 games and see how the action is going, how the money is going, and of course, who the pros are betting on. So as far as tonight goes, at 6:35 p.m. Eastern Time, the Chicago Cubs, 67-89, going to Pittsburgh to play the Pirates, who are 58-98. Both these National League Central teams have been eliminated from the playoffs a long time ago, if you've been following them at all. Both are also struggling as you're going down the stretch. The Cubs just got swept by the Cardinals to go 1-10 over their last 11 games. In the meantime, the Pirates are 2-6 over their last 8 games, and they own the fourth worst record in Major League Baseball. Now, in tonight's first series game, Chicago comes in with their right-hander, Alec Mills. He's 6-7. He has a 4.83 ERA. And the Pirates, they come back with their right-hander, Mitch Keller. He's 5-11 with a 5.96 ERA. As we look at the line in this game, it opened with the Pirates as a short -115 home favorite, and the Cubs starting out as a +105 road dog. Now, we've seen the pro money come in on the Cubs. It dropped that line to a pick 'em or to a -105 on the money line for both sides, not only the Cubs, but the Pirates as well. The Cubs, well, they enjoy a schedule edge in this one. Chicago's coming off a day off, while the Pirates played yesterday, losing 13-1 to the Reds. Now, keep this in mind. Rested teams in this spot are at 62% so far this season. Chicago was also 12-4 against Pittsburgh this season. We could also be looking at a lower scoring game here. The total is 9, with the under being juiced up to -120, which means there's a possible situation where that line may go from 9 down to 8.5. So the pros in this game between the Cubs and the Pirates are on the Chicago Cubs. But it's one of those games like it's one of those who cares games. But it's games like that the pros look at because there's value in those games. So in this game, like I said, they like the Cubs. Primarily, they had a day off. That type of situation does very, very well. Meanwhile, at 7:45, the Milwaukee Brewers, 94-62, in St. Louis to play the Cardinals, the red hot Cardinals. They're 87-69. We're still waiting for them to lose the game so we can get involved in the swagger theory for losing and winning streaks. We haven't gotten there yet. We've been talking about it all week, and it hasn't happened yet, but it may happen tonight. This National League Central game features one team who already clinched a playoff spot. There's another one looking to punch their ticket also. So the Brewers have already won the Central. The Cardinals are looking good right now for that second wild card spot, leading the Reds by 5.5 games. So with a week to go, 5.5 games, they're looking pretty good, but they still have to keep up the pace. In tonight's first game, the Brewers start their right-hander, Brandon Woodruff. He's 9-10 with a 2.52 ERA. Okay. And the Cardinals come back with their veteran right-hander, Adam Wainwright. He's 16-7. He has a 3.05 ERA. The line opened as a pick'em. Both sides listed as a minus 105 on the money line. The public, well, they're riding those red hot Cardinals. They've won 16 straight games. But the pros, they seem to think tonight may be the night the streak comes to an end. They've hit the Brewers, steaming Milwaukee from minus 105 up to minus 120 on the money line. The Brewers just swept the Mets. Short road favorites of minus 150 or less are at 61% this season. Once again, we're going to take a look at road favorites of minus 150 or less, which this is. They're at 61% so far this season. Now, the total opened very low, opened at 7. Some of the pro money seems to be leaning to the over because the over is being juiced up to minus 120 at most of the shops, which means that before long, that number will possibly go up to 7.5. So in the game between the Brewers and the Cardinals, the red hot Cardinals, there's no doubt about it, they're as hot as they can be, 16 straight wins. They're fighting to stay in the playoff picture. They're kind of ahead of the Reds by 5.5 games. Probably looking pretty good, but you can't look over your shoulder. You got to keep trying till you get to that point where, okay, we're in. We don't have to worry about it anymore. Meanwhile, of course, Milwaukee, they are already in. They're at the top of the league. So the story there, the Brewers and the Cardinals, the pros think that the Cardinals streak is finally going to come to an end. They're on the Milwaukee Brewers, and of course, they're on the over as well. We have one more game to talk about, the Tampa Bay Rays and the Houston Astros. But let's take our break. Break number 2. When we come back, we're going to take a look at that game up close and personal, let you know which way it's going, which way the pros are going. And then we're also going to going into the NFL as far as power rankings are concerned. A lot of changes there. So we'll be back in the zone in 1 minute. And welcome back. Here you go. We're back again in the sports wagering zone. You're in the zone. And I'm Chris Pardo, coming to you live right here from the Mile High City, Denver, Colorado, on the I 95 Sports and Entertainment Network. Also podcasting on most of your major podcast platforms like Spotify or Google Podcasts or Apple. We're everywhere we can get a hold of you. So, anyway, you can also send us an email. Keep in touch with us that way as well. Send that email to the Sports Wagering Zone at gmail.com. That's the Sports Wagering Zone at gmail.com. Be more than happy to hear from you. Have some comments you may have, so let us know. Like the show, don't like it, what do you like about it, what don't you like about it? You think any changes should be made? Again, like we say, we're in a bubble here. We've been doing this show for well over 5 years now, going on almost 6 years. And, we've kind of been doing things pretty much the same way throughout. Little tweak here, a little tweak there. And most of the tweaks happen because the listeners let us know about it. So once again, that email address is the sports wagering zone at gmail.com. So we're looking at baseball. 3 games on tap for tonight. This is the final week of the Major League Baseball season. The playoffs will be beginning sometime later on next week. And of course, the 2 games we already looked at, just in case you tuned in late, are the Chicago Cubs and the Pittsburgh Pirates. In that game, the pros are on the Chicago Cubs. Also, the Milwaukee Brewers against those red hot St. Louis Cardinals, who have 16 straight wins. The general public, they're staying with the Cardinals. They think they're going to continue on winning. Meanwhile, the pros, they seem to think the Brewers are going to finally bring this streak to an end. We'll soon find out. And of course, if they do, then of course, tomorrow you're going to have a swagger theory situation, and you may have a bet there as well. Meanwhile, at 8 o'clock tonight, Tampa Bay Rays, Houston Astros. The Rays are 97 and 59. The Astros, 91 and 65. Now, these two teams are division leaders. And you know what? This could be a prelude to them playing each other in the postseason. But for now, they're trending in kind of, I guess you can look at opposite directions. Tampa Bay, they've clinched the East and they've won 4 straight games. Meanwhile, the Astros lead the American League West, but they haven't clinched and they've lost 4 straight. So in tonight's first game, Tampa Bay comes in with their right-hander, Michael Wacha. He's 3-5 with a 5.49 ERA, and Houston comes out with their right-hander, Jose Urquidy. He's 8-3 with a 3.56 ERA. Now, looking at the line in this game, it opened with Houston listed as a minus 140 on the money line home favorite. Tampa Bay a plus 130 as a road dog. Now the pros, they've pounced on the Rays. Okay, that's a decent plus money dog that they think of. They're steaming Tampa Bay from plus 130 down to plus 120. The Rays have value because they're a road dog with a high total. The total in this game is 9. High totals benefit the dogs because more expected runs are scored and the more of a variance. And of course, there's more of an upset opportunity because there are more runs being scored. We could see some runs scored in this one. The over 9 is being juiced up to minus 120, which means there's a possible move in the upward direction to 9.5 before game time. So both these teams have been good over bets so far this season. The Rays are 82 and 66. The Astros, they're 83 and 66. So here you got two teams. 9 may go up to 9.5. Pros are on the over. The pros in this game are on the Tampa Bay Rays, the underdog in this game. So, once again, to review the three games we talked about for today: Cubs against the Pirates, the Pros on the Chicago Cubs, Milwaukee Brewers and the St. Louis Cardinals. Like I say, the red hot Cardinals won 16 in a row. The Pros seem to think the Brewers are going to finally bring that streak to an end. And finally, Tampa Bay against the Houston Astros. The Pros in that game are on the underdog, the Tampa Rays. So that's the story with baseball for tonight. You can take a look at them. Right now, just to give you an idea, the Pros are just about at 50% as far as the month of September is concerned and their win percentage. So if you're looking for something like that, gives you an idea as to where the Pros are. Now, we give you this information, and of course, any way you look at it, you can say that well, I want to go with the Pros, or I may not want to go with the Pros. I want to do this, I want to do that. It's totally up to you as to you decide as to what it is that you do want to happen. So that's the story with that. So we're going to take our final break. We have one more break left to do, get it out of the way. And of course, when we do, then we're going to take a look at the power rankings. The new power rankings came out today. And like I said, we always seem to deal with the New York Post. That's a huge newspaper in New York. They have a very good sports department, and especially with their power rankings as well. Of course, there are other places you can go to as well. You could go to USA Today. That's another good place to go as well. There have been some changes. They may surprise you, maybe they won't, but we'll go over them right after we have this final break. So, just to give you an idea, we'll be back in the zone in 1 minute looking at NFL power rankings. And welcome back. Here we go again. You're back in the sports wagering zone. I'm Chris Pardo. We're coming to you live right here from the Mile High City, Denver, Colorado. Thank you very much for listening. We're here every day, Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time on the I-95 network. And of course, you can listen to our podcasts anytime during the day. We're on Apple, Spotify, Google, you name it. We're on most of the major podcasts as well. So let's take a look at the power rankings for this week. These power rankings are courtesy of the New York Post. You know that 14 of the last 33 teams that lost the Super Bowl, like the Chiefs did to the Bucks in last year, did not make the playoffs the following season. You know that? 14 of 33 teams. The teams that lost the Super Bowl, just like the Chiefs did last year, didn't make the playoffs. Not even didn't get to the playoffs the following season. But few of these teams were a budding dynasty like the Chiefs. Three straight AFC championship games they had. NFL's best quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, future Hall of Fame coach, Andy Reid, had all that going for them. Okay. But of course, the numbers say something different. And yet the Chiefs are lucky not to be winless after these three games against the Browns, the Ravens, and the Chargers. So they've tumbled way down the weekly rankings. So let's go over the full list of the rankings as they appear in the New York Post. In the number one spot, Los Angeles Rams, 3-0. Last week they were number 2. Now they're number 1. The Rams won the battle of the top 2 teams with relative ease, building a 17-point third quarter lead over those Bucks. The Sean McVay Matthew Stafford marriage looks like it's working out even better than most people thought it would be. After Stafford threw for 343 yards, 4 touchdowns with a 134 quarterback rating. Los Angeles, now number 1. Number 2, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Their record is 2-1. They were in the number 1 spot last week. Tom Brady loses games in September. It happened frequently when it was in New England, and it's happened both years he's been in Tampa. Well, there's really no need to panic, but Brady might need to win a few shootouts while the Buccaneers' young secondary, so good in last year's playoffs, get right again. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the number 2 spot, dropping down from number 1. Number 3, the Cleveland Browns. They're 2-1. They were number 5 last week. Odell Beckham Jr. came back. His ACL tears just as his buddy Jarvis Landry went out with an injury. Baker Mayfield's playing more like a game manager than a top 10 quarterback. But maybe, that's okay when the Browns have a dominant rushing game and a defense that held the Bears to 6 points. Cleveland Browns, number 3. Number 4, they were number 14 last week, a big jump up to number 4. The Green Bay Packers. They're 2-1 so far as well. So there it is. The Packers' season opening stinker against the Saints feels like ancient history after a road win against the 49ers. Somehow, 37 seconds and no timeouts is still enough time for Aaron Rodgers to drive his team for that winning field goal. Did you see the touch on those last 2 passes? He really came around. So at number 4, you got the Green Bay Packers moving up from number 14. Now on the way down, the San Francisco 49ers. They're at the number 5 slot. They were number 3 last week. Jimmy Garoppolo held off calls for Trey Lance by leading 4 touchdown drives on the 49ers' final 6 possessions. It should have been good enough to beat the Packers, but there was that Rodgers magic, which is too much for the situation. The 49ers are much healthier through 3 weeks this season than they were last season. So moving down from 3 to 5, San Francisco 49ers. At number 6, and they were number 6 last week, the Arizona Cardinals. They're undefeated. They're 3-0. 6th best team in the NFL. 3rd best team in their division? Who knows? That's the cruel reality of that NFC West. And the Cardinals are not going to get much extra credibility for beating the Jaguars on the road last week. The defense is holding up its end, but they're ready for that offense to get explosive. Meanwhile, at 7, the Las Vegas Raiders, they were number 7 also. They're undefeated as well. They're 3-0 for the first time since 2002, 10 years ago, where they went to the Super Bowl. They had wins over the Ravens, the Steelers, and the Dolphins. They're the first team to open the season 3-0 against teams that all won at least 10 games the season before. So Derek Carr, hey, he's playing lights out right now. Meanwhile, at number 8, moving up from number 9, Buffalo Bills. They're 2-1. Josh Allen finally looked like 2020 Josh Allen again as he notched his 5th career game with at least 300 yards passing and 4 touchdowns. Buffalo proved they could both start fast, 21-0 over Washington in the first half, and respond to adversity, winning going away after it became a one-score game. Now down to number 9. A big move to number 9 from number 18 last week. The Los Angeles Chargers. They're 2-1. And taking a page from Baltimore's book, first-year coach Brandon Staley understood it's aggressive or bust when you're playing the Chiefs. He passed up a 48-yard field goal. Justin Herbert converted a fourth down by penalty, and the Chargers beat the Chiefs for the third time in 6 meetings. 6 times they played against each other. Chiefs only won 3 of those games. Chargers won 3, which is as often as anyone could hope for when you're playing those teams in these days. Finally, at number 10, they were number 10 last week. 2-1 is their record. The Titans are going to cruise to that AFC South title and have a leg up in the playoffs as far as how the seeding goes. That much is clear because Ryan Tannehill threw 3 touchdown passes to relative unknowns to beat the Colts. Their week 1 loss to the Cardinals doesn't look nearly as bad right now, given the direction that both teams have gone since then. So that's the top 10. Tennessee Titans number 10, Los Angeles Chargers number 9, Buffalo Bills number 8, Las Vegas number 7, Arizona Cardinals at number 6, San Francisco 49ers at number 5, Green Bay Packers at number 4, Cleveland Browns at number 3, number 2, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, down from number 1 from last week. And the new number 1 team in power rankings, the Los Angeles Rams. They were number 2 last week. Now they are number 1, and they are still undefeated. So that's the story on the power rankings. Something you should take a close look at. The pros, the sports books, they have their own power rankings. They put their own stuff together. You can do it also, but you better have a lot of time on your hands because a lot of work has to be done in order to come up with these numbers. Sometimes it's just easier to latch on either to the Post or the USA Today or Pro Football. Just take a look at any of those and kind of go along with them as well. But stay with one. Don't jump from one to the other because sometimes they do have some differences as to who they believe belongs in those positions. So that's the story with the rankings. In the meantime, 3 baseball games we talked about earlier on tap for tonight. Yeah, baseball's still going on. It will be for the rest of the week. But then again, it really gets serious because the playoffs begin next week. And then before you know it, it's the World Series, and then it's all over. Meanwhile, tonight, around 6:30, the Cubs and the Pirates. The pros in this game are on the Chicago Cubs. Milwaukee Brewers and the red-hot St. Louis Cardinals. Cardinals who have won 16 straight games. The Brewers and the pros, they think they're going to put that number to rest tonight and defeat them. Tampa Bay and the Houston Astros, the pros in this game are on the underdog, the Tampa Rays. So that's the story as far as today is concerned. Very little football, but of course tomorrow's Wednesday. Tomorrow's Wednesday. We'll be talking on Hump Day. We'll possibly get some information on the upcoming game this Thursday for Thursday Night Football. Then, of course, you got college football on Friday, Saturday, and back to the NFL on Sunday once again. And there'll be the top stories there once again. So I want to thank you for listening. We're coming to you live every day right here on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network, as well as podcasting on most of your major podcast platforms. And of course, we will be back. We're here every day at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. So it's Tuesday. Have a great Tuesday. Enjoy it. If you're going to be betting tonight, I hope you have a profitable Tuesday as well. So until tomorrow again at 1 o'clock, I'm Chris Pardo. Thanks for listening. We'll be back at 1 o'clock Eastern Time on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network. Goodbye, everybody. Have a great Tuesday, but even more so, if you're betting, I hope you have a profitable Tuesday as well. Goodbye, everybody.